All right, how you guys doing? I told myself when I first started this, I can do this in one take. Yeah, I've already knocked the phone off the desk, and I've already done a couple other things on here that's just it's driving me nuts. But welcome back, and this week I'm going to clarify something with this coronavirus. I'm not going to get into that debate if it's real or if it's not real, if it's built up by the media, whatever it is. I'm not going to get into that. All I'm going to do is tell everybody that's out there, please, just be good to each other. Come on, we're all in this together. If you're out and about and you're doing some shopping and somebody gets in your face, just walk away. It isn't worth it. It just isn't worth it. And don't get upset with somebody because they've overloaded on something or took the last one of something. Just don't get upset with people. It only makes it worse. So just be good to each other. That's all I can ask. That's all we can all ask for each other is let's just be good. All right. I had a few questions in my classes, and something we talked about last week was the holsters. And I don't want to give you my opinion on how I feel about holsters. If this holster worked for me, it may not work for you. If it works for you, it may not work for me. We're all built different. Our bodies are different. Our grips are different. And we train differently. So if I tell you, I just can't stand this holster, it's terrible. Well, that's my opinion. It might be a great holster for you. Yeah, test drive. When you go to the store and you want to look at a firearm, I told you test drive those firearms. Test drive every one of them. Get in your hand, get that grip and see how that thing feels and see if it's comfortable for you or not. And then you get the holster and you do the same thing. The one thing you do need, if you're going to wear pants with a holster, I know there's different types of pants out there, yoga pants that has holsters in them now, and you have the belly bands that have a holster that has nothing to do with your pants. But if you're going to hook a holster to your pants at all, please invest in a good belt. A good, solid, rigid belt that when you put it on, it's going to really hold that holster in place. If it's an appendix holster, inside the waistband or outside the waistband, you got to get a good holster that's going to hold that, or a good belt that's going to hold that holster in place. So with that being said, I'll give you a couple of things that I've found that's been a problem for me, but it may not be for you. Ankle holsters, I have one. I stopped wearing it because it's hard to get to if you're in certain situations. If you're seated, you're fine with it. But if you're not very flexible and you're at a dining table at a restaurant, try to get your hand down there. So if you're going to use an ankle holster, I don't like them either because when I run, it would flop around and it just drove me nuts. But for you, it might work great. So if you're going to try that, at least get one, put it on, and see how it feels. Walk around with it, see if it's going to work for you. I know it's not an 8-hour day, it's just a few minutes in the store, but at least it can give you an idea of how it's going to feel. I hear a lot of people about appendix. You're going to blow your junk off. You're going to keep your booger hook off the bank switch, and you're going to be good. There's a lot of great appendix carries out there. There's a lot of new inventive ways that they've done it, and it is a good conceal, and it's an easy way to reach your weapon with either arms. If your strong hand has been injured in any way and your offhand you need to get to your weapon, you can with appendix carry. So, but some of the people that are built differently might not like it. It might dig in too much. It might not be comfortable for them, and so they would go with the 4 o'clock, which is just behind here. I've heard people complain about that too, and I don't have a problem with it. I've heard some people talk about, somebody comes up behind you. And that's what we're going to talk about today is situational awareness. And that's going to be involving this, is somebody could come up behind you and take your firearm from you. Well, if you've got a firearm on you and you're in public, you better be aware of that firearm, where it's at, and make sure that you always have it secured no matter what. We get into shoulder holsters, different styles. Some hold the weapon up. Some hold the weapon straight back, and some are actually in like this. So no matter how it is, when you get that weapon out, as you're pulling it out, be aware of that muzzle. It's going to muzzle people. If the weapon is up and you pull this weapon down, and if you do get your finger on that trigger, you could put a hole in your arm. So be aware of these things. It's a training issue. Any holster out there is going to be a training issue and an exposure issue. Expose yourself to this weapon or this holster. Wear it. See how it feels. And by all means, if it gets to be uncomfortable and you want to go to another one, trust me, every gun owner out there, everybody who carries concealed out there, I guarantee you they have numerous holsters. And a lot of them are just sent in a box because they tried them out, didn't work, chucked in the box. But some of them they have in the box will work great for me, might work great for you, but it didn't for them. So we're all different. Test drive them all. So this week we're going to do, like I said, we're going to talk about situational awareness. A lot of people know about this. They hear that term all the time. You see it on the internet. You see it mentioned in movies, and everything else is mentioned to you as situational awareness. The actual definition is the perception of environmental elements and events. That's right. Environmental elements and events with respect to time or space. It's the comprehension of their meaning and the projection of their future status. It's confusing. Simple terms. Be aware of your surroundings. Know what's going on around you. If you've seen on the internet or you hear somebody talking about, oh, I'm 100% aware all the time, I'm 100% aware, they're not. They can't be. Soldiers, law enforcement, all of them, they cannot be 100% aware at all times. If you go into a store and you notice this person standing over here, you notice this door, you notice the exit's over here, a few more people are milling around over here. Nowadays, you're going to see nothing but shopping carts and empty aisles. But you're aware of your surroundings. But the minute you look down at your phone, the minute you look at a list, if you're shopping, the minute you look down at a product, the minute you look at a menu, if you're in a restaurant, you just lost your situational awareness. You've lost that environmental control. So never hear, if anybody ever tells you they're 100% all the time, they can't be. It's impossible. And so if you ever think to yourself, well, I'm just not good. I got to train. I got to learn. I got to train and train and train. You don't. What you have to train on is know your surroundings. Be aware of everything going on, but also be aware that I might lose a moment. If I'm looking at a menu, keep that head on a swivel when you're done looking. Look around. See what's around you. See what's changed. When you first walked in, you see this person standing over here. You sit down at your table and you look at a menu, and a couple seconds later you look up and that person's gone. Your environment changed. Where'd they go? What'd they do? Now, do you have to track them down? No. All you have to do is you keep your head on a swivel, you look up, and I notice that person there. I notice these people over here. It's okay. I look at my menu, I look up, these people are gone. Do I have to look for them? No. I just head on a swivel, I just check my area out. I'm good. They didn't make an advance towards me, they didn't draw a weapon, there's nothing different going on. I can reevaluate on a constant basis. I just have to be aware that I need to do that. I've taken something in training for years and years and years. We trained with move as fast as you can shoot accurately. I know every guy out there that's trained with this has heard the same phrase, move as fast as you can shoot accurately. I don't agree with that. Like I said, mine's a way. It's okay though. Somebody else may not agree with my way. My way is move as fast as you can evaluate your environment. If I'm moving down a hallway in an active shooter scenario and I'm trying to get out the back because the guy came through the front and I'm going out the back, I always have to be aware there may be a second shooter. So as I'm going out this area, I am evaluating my hallway as I'm moving. I'm checking doors, I'm checking rooms, I'm checking everything. I am evaluating my ground. If I take off running at a flat out sprint, I might miss a lot. And so I might even miss the bad guy that's been hiding behind a container. Down in New Mexico, an everyday carry individual had known a shooting that had happened, and a male and female had entered the store. The female was lagging behind. The guy didn't notice her. He steps out, shoots the male subject, wounds him, and the female ends his life because he wasn't aware of his surroundings. He didn't check everything around him. His head wasn't on a swivel at all times. So situational awareness, you only move as fast as you can evaluate your environment. And try it sometime. Have some different objects put in. You know, if you want to play with the idea with family or friends or anything else, open some doors. You're clearing your house or practicing clearing a hallway, and have something sitting in the middle of the room that you don't know what it is. And as you're moving down the hallway, see if you can identify what's sitting in there. And they're going to ask you at the end of that drill, what was in this room? Well, make it something out of the ordinary. It sits on a table that you normally wouldn't, or a dresser that normally wouldn't be there, in the middle of the bed, something that wouldn't normally be there. So you can identify and start evaluating as you're moving through your environment. So situational awareness is just knowing your environment. It's being aware. And part of the situational awareness is also knowing where my family is, what they're going to be doing, how they're moving. It's where my weapon is. Is anybody near my weapon? I got to control it. Situational awareness is an evaluation of everything in your environment. And it's just like the definition where we talked about perception of environmental elements or the comprehension of their meaning. So as you're evaluating, don't just look at it and say that's a door. That's an open door. That's a closed door. That's a glass door. That's a wood door. I can see through the door and I can see what might be behind that. So it's the understanding what it means, the perception of it, and understanding what it means. And what does this mean as I'm moving down this hallway? If something doesn't look right, something doesn't feel right, I'm evaluating. I'm looking at it and things change. Every time you're going to carry this weapon, if you're going to use this for self-defense, I want you to remember one thing: everything is always fluid. Any environment you're going to be in, it's going to be fluid. It's going to change regularly. Nothing is going to be a set situation. Your military people out there, men and women, law enforcement and military, will tell you the same thing. Nothing is the same. Nothing. Everything you do changes. It's fluid. It's always on the change. And so you have to be able to evaluate. It's like your computers on a car. You know, they're evaluating your car constantly. Well, have any of you guys rode motorcycles or downhill bicycling or skiing? You're having fun. You're enjoying yourself, but what are you doing? You're evaluating your environment. As you're moving down the road or moving down that hill on a single track, on a bomb run, you're flying down this hill on a set of skis, you're evaluating your environment as you're moving. And you're moving pretty quick, but you're still evaluating and you're having fun. Now, I'm not telling you have to know your environment when you get to a restaurant and you got to set up your base of operations over in the corner and you got your back against the wall. You got to have your defenses set up. Come on. We need to relax and still enjoy our lives. But at the same time, keep your head on a swivel. Pay attention to your surroundings. Just be aware. It's just like riding a motorcycle, bombing a two-track or a single track down the hill. You don't want to run into a tree because you're not paying attention. So what you're going to do is just evaluate. And that's all it is. It's be aware of everything. Be aware of your family. In future episodes, we're going to talk about that. We're going to start getting outside. It's actually still snowing out here, but we're going to get outside and we're going to start doing some drills. And we'll start showing you some different things that I've learned over the years that's helped me practice these things. And that's getting people out of the way, shooting around objects, shooting from different positions. And we'll be talking about those, and I'll give some demonstrations, some drills that you can take to the range with you and give them a try if you want to. But now we're going to move on to another subject. We got the idea of situational awareness down. We're going to move on to another subject, and that's the mental. And part of this mental, it meshes right on situational awareness. You've heard about the colors. We've all learned about the colors. Some of them are a little bit different than others, but the main idea of the colors is it shows you where you're at. Like the white-green. It's either white, some are green, some are white, but the white-green is you're sitting there eating peanut M&Ms in your recliner on a Sunday morning watching cartoons and drooling chocolate all down your face. You ain't aware of nothing. You're just enjoying life and your brain is shut off because you know tomorrow morning you're right back to work again. So you shut everything down. You're not aware of nothing. And then we go into yellow. You're outside doing some yard work. Yeah, you're aware of your surroundings to a point. You got a good idea of what's going on around you in your neighborhood. If somebody comes driving up, somebody could walk up on your backside and scare you. And so you're aware, but you're not fully aware. Then we go into orange. That's where you're aware. You know what's going on. You should be in this situation. If you're in Walmart or wherever it is shopping, or you're out and about in society, or you're doing something, you're more aware. Even if you're a walk with your dog, you're more aware and nobody's going to sneak up on you. Your head's on a swivel. I mean, as you're walking along, you just take a peek. If you hear a noise, look at it. See what's going on. If you hear a car moving, take a peek at the car. But keep enjoying your time. Keep enjoying yourself as a person, but just always be aware, especially if you're armed and you got that mindset to protect your family. And then we go into red. Red is imminent. Something is going on. Something's happening. All the toilet paper is disappearing, whatever it is. But red it's imminent. You know that a shot has taken place, or a shooting, or somebody's running by saying something bad has happened, or you see it, or you're in a confrontation with somebody. It's red. You're automatically in that mode. You're in the defense mode. You're protecting your family. You're getting out of the situation as fast as you can possibly get out of it. So remember those. And it's stages, and it depends on where you're at and what you're doing. The other thing is black. That's someplace you want to train yourself out of this. Black is when your mind shuts off and all that happens is your survival skills step in. You are now just going off instinct. You no longer going off. I've seen it happen many times in my career where a law enforcement officer involved in a shooting, may not even be one of the shooters, but just an officer present, they kind of shut down. They go into that survival mode because their brain can't quite comprehend or can't quite evaluate what had happened. And so they do that little bit of a shutdown, and that's going into black. They just go into straight survival mode. There's no comprehension at that point. And so we try to avoid the black. And the way to do that is train. Train your mind and train yourself. Your physical being, your shooting, everything needs to be trained. You have to know your laws, be confident in yourself. And that's going to bring us into the mental part of before, during, and after if you're involved in a shooting. Before the idea of ever shooting your firearm in protection or in self-defense or protection of your family, before you even have to get to that place, you've got to train. Physically train and mentally train. Are you capable of taking a firearm, no matter what the situation is, and possibly ending another human being's life? This is the final decision to be made, and you have to be aware of that. So, are you capable of possibly ending a human life? It's a scary thought. It's a spiritual thing that I'm not sure if some people can handle or if they can or can't handle it. It's just one of those concepts of it's final, and you have to mentally prepare yourself for that. I hear a lot of people talk, I could shoot that person in a heartbeat. I have no problem taking that guy out. I have no problem doing this. They're doing this to me. And then the time comes and they haven't prepared themselves and haven't trained for it. Like I said, I've seen police officers and I've seen military guys, men and women do the same thing. They go into that black mode and they thought they could, but until the day came they had to pull that trigger. They couldn't do it. Now, during the situation, if you do have to pull that trigger on somebody, remember, we'll bring up the 45 guys, one shot, one kill, it's all over with. Well, that's not true. And I'm also saying don't empty your magazine into somebody, but you shoot somebody to stop the threat. You're not shooting them to kill them. You're not shooting them to wound them. You're shooting them to stop the threat. The minute they stop their threat, then you just hold them until police get there or EMS. So the thing is during the shooting, that's where you're going to go into, some people may go into a panic mode. Their body goes into survival. They're not sure exactly what's happening. But during is one of the most critical times because you have to control everything. When you take that subject down, you may have others to be looking for. So once that person goes down, your head's on a swivel. You're still on them and you're looking around to see if there's somebody else that has possibly joined them or been there with them, or somebody who may attack you thinking that you were the bad guy. So you've always got to train and train and train and be aware. We're going to cover some of these at the range. When we get outside, we're start moving around the thought pattern of what happens when you do fire that round and you do stop somebody, what you're going to do. And then afterwards is the key. Once you're done and police get there, the key thing is when law enforcement gets there, police put this away. Have this either holstered or grounded. The minute police get there, those party lights show up outside, follow every instruction. You may not be guilty. You may not have done anything wrong. They don't know that. You got a gun and there's a person laying on the ground. You're the first one to be taken down at gunpoint. So please, please ground this weapon and show them your hands. Always have your hands open. Make no aggressive action towards the cops. Don't argue with them. They tell you to go to the ground, go to the ground. They tell you to put your hands behind your back, put your hands behind your back. Do not give them any other information. Excited utterances are acceptable in court. So at this point, when an officer looks at you and says, what happened? Say, well, I want my lawyer. I'll cooperate with you. I'll tell you everything, but I want my lawyer here. Does it make you look guilty? No. I've been a police officer 27 years. Somebody looks at me and they want their lawyer. The first thing I'm thinking of is, well, they want their rights. I'm allowed to have a lawyer. If I'm involved in an officer-involved shooting, I can have my lawyer present. I don't have to answer any questions until my lawyer's there. So please, if you are involved in a shooting, put this down. Please do not point this weapon anywhere near the police. If you do, you'll possibly be shot. Put this thing on the ground and follow their orders. Don't argue with them. You're going to be scared. You're going to be shaking. You're going to be a little bit nervous. If you guys remember that kid named Chunk that was on The Goonies, He starts telling his life story from like the 3rd grade on. You're going to want to do the same thing. It's called excited utterance. You're going to say some things you may not have meant to say and probably didn't even happen. So take some deep breaths. They're going to handcuff you possibly. If they do that, then just let them know, I want to cooperate. I just want my attorney present. And when that happens, they can't ask you anything else. You've requested your lawyer. Have a lawyer. Have somebody you know you can contact. Have an insurance of some form for carrying your weapon, but have some type of contact. Now, the other after part of this is your mental wellness. If you've been involved in a shooting, you feel like you're fine and everything's great, still go see somebody. Just once. I don't care if it's just one time. You're not crazy. Go see somebody. Go see a specialist one time. At least talk to them. They may dig some things out that you didn't know was there. Or they may look at you and say, well, you're perfectly normal. Have a nice day. And you're on your way home. But get some help. Get that one little bit of help. Now I'm rambling on. We have a general idea of what situational awareness is. We have our mental prep before, during, and after. We'll be covering a lot of these things in the next few episodes. Like I said, if you like what I have to say, please like and subscribe down below. And we'll be getting outside here covering a lot of these different ideas and subjects. Next week, we're going to talk a lot about grip. We're going to talk about sight alignment between point shooting and sight shooting. We'll just get a general idea of these things, and it should be at that point where we can get outside, get to the range, and we start doing some movements. We'll talk about moving and shooting. We'll talk about going down a hallway in your home. We'll cover that next week. And I appreciate you guys. And all I can say is just keep your head on a swivel and just be nice to people, especially during this hard times. We're all in this together. So can't wait to see you next week. Have a good one.